Alright guys, so today we're going to talk about a pair of true wireless earbuds that kind of falls into that category that it's one of those that's so popular that even a lot of the YouTubers that normally don't talk about earbuds are actually talking about these. And the pair that I'm talking about is the brand new Nothing Ear 2. Now the thing that really surprised me about these, and I want to say this right at the beginning of the video, is how much of a drastic difference there is between the first gen version of these and the second gen. And it has nothing really to do with the design itself, because that actually looks almost identical to the first gen. But when it comes to everything inside of these, I've never seen such a huge difference. And it's even caused some YouTubers that hated the first gen to absolutely love the second gen. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about what all comes inside the box. We're going to talk about the features and see if it could be worth the $149 price tag. Now let's go ahead and start with the price. It does come in at $149, but right now on Amazon and also on AliExpress, I have coupon codes that you guys can use that brings them down to about $140. So you can save 10 bucks. So that already kind of puts it in a price range to compete with products like the AirPods 3rd Gen or the Soundcore Liberty 4s or the Liberty 3 Pros. So it's in a pretty competitive market. But let's go ahead and talk about some of the differences. They went from just using a normal common driver to now customizing an 11.6 millimeter driver. This pair now has LHDC 5.0 playback, so it has high-res audio certification where the original ones didn't. And this is almost exactly like LDAC, but this codec actually gives you better low latency. So it's going to be better for things like movies, videos, and games. So you can use it without having to really worry about lag. And on top of that, this pair also has a gaming or low latency mode that you can switch them into, because this pair does work with Nothing's app. And Nothing's app is one of the best looking apps that I've seen. It kind of fits the theme of the company. Everything just has this clean, simple look. The app, though, to me is very important because it allows you to keep these updated. You do have a personalized sound profile where it kind of takes you through probably one of the most annoying hearing tests I've ever had to go through. It sounds like you're listening to a sea of locusts going on all around you, and you have to let it know when you can hear this beeping sound. But it's very annoying to go through, but I do feel like it was very beneficial given the sound that it gave me afterwards. But also within the app, you can have it go through different noise canceling modes. There's also an adaptive active noise canceling. There's some EQ options. There's also the ability to kind of, change the EQ settings a little bit. This is not one of those pairs that I feel like you have a whole lot of control over the sound. You have it the way that it sounds out of the box. You have it the way that it sounds once you go through that hearing test, which that is a huge difference in itself. And then everything else is just kind of minor. Now, as far as the technology, it went from Bluetooth 5.2 on the original ones to now Bluetooth 5.3. This pair also now has dual connect, so you can connect to more than one device at a time. And like I said, it does have that low latency mode, so if you know you're going to be watching a movie or a video, you'd switch it over into this mode so you don't have to worry about lag. And also, if you're going to use these outdoors, it went from the original ones having an IPX4 rating to now having an IP54. So it still has the same amount of water protection, but this pair now has a certain level of dust protection. So if you are going to use these at the beach or on a job site, anywhere where there's dust flying around, that's just one less thing that you actually have to worry about. Now, another thing that I think is a huge difference is they also changed the controls. And I don't mean like the controls as in what they do, but the original ones used tap controls, but now they went to the squeeze gestures, kind of like what the AirPod Pros use. Now, out of the box, they don't give you control over everything, but because they work with the app, you can go in and add volume control. And once you do that, you have control over everything. You have your play, your pause, your ability to skip your tracks forward, go backwards, the volume control, the noise canceling modes. It's all right there on the earbuds themselves. Now, as far as the actual noise canceling and the transparency mode, this is such a huge improvement. And I think that this pair does compete with the Sony and the Bose, which cost at least $100 more, because I think the noise canceling on the Nothing Ear 2 is fantastic. Now, it does not give you that cabin or pressure feel. You just sound completely isolated from everything else. And it does such a good job of blocking out people talking. And I think that's the area that I was impressed with the most. It's not one that's just blocking out lower tones like engine noises and AC units. It's taking it a step further and trying to block out people talking or TVs or anything that has a higher tone to it. And again, it just does a really good job of isolating you from everything else. And the transparency mode, I think, is also fantastic. It made me very aware of my surroundings, and I also found it very easy to carry on a conversation without actually taking the earbuds out. Now, as far as what all you get inside the box, it does come with 3 sets of silicone ear tips. It does come with a USB-C cable for charging, but this pair also has Qi wireless charging, so you don't really need to use that USB-C cable. You can just come in, drop it on any wireless charger, and it will start charging. But I am going to say using that charging cable will give you some very impressive fast charging because in wired mode, on a quick 10-minute charge, it will give you 8 hours of use. So that will just bump up the case, giving you a full 8 hours, which I think is very impressive. But the battery life itself, I think, is really just okay. Now, if you're going to use these with the noise canceling off and you're not using them in any kind of mode other than just listening to music, you can actually squeeze about 8 hours out of the earbuds, and that's going to give you about 36 hours total using the case, where if you're going to use these with the noise canceling on, and I think this again kind of goes back to the noise canceling being as strong as it is, it's going to bring your battery life down all the way to around 4 hours on the earbuds, and it's going to give you a total of about 22 and a half hours using the case. So you can see that that is a huge drop off when you're using these with the noise canceling off as opposed to using these with the noise canceling on. Now, if you are going to use these for phone calls, again, this is another area that I was very impressed with, but maybe I shouldn't be because this company also makes phones, so, they really should know microphones. This pair is using what they're calling Clear Voice 2.0, so that is a step up from the original ones, and I think it does a very good job of picking up my voice and also a good job of blocking out any sounds around me. But you guys can be a judge by listening to a test here. So here is the mic test using the Nothing Ear 2. And I think it picks up my voice extremely well. Now, I do sound a little sick right now, and I think it's adding a little bit of warmth to my voice, but this is what it would sound like if you were to take a call. And so now here's the mic test with the crowd noise being played, which you can hear here. And so this is what it would sound like if you were to take a call in public. So now let's talk about the sound. Now, this pair is claiming to use a dual chamber design, and in my opinion, it makes these have some similar characteristics to Soundcore's earbuds, where you can have a really aggressive bass, but also have a lot of space in the bass. It's not like congesting everything else. It can hit hard. It can even have that like subwoofer type feel, but also have a good amount of distance. And that just makes things a lot more enjoyable to listen to. It just makes it where you can go from one genre to the next. And it doesn't feel like it's going to slip, with one genre that may be bass heavy. Or if you're listening to metal where you have the double bass of the drums, it just doesn't have that congested feeling at all. But it allows these to still stay fun to listen to. Now, this is after I went through that personalized test. This is the sound that it set up for me. Because I did find if you just use these without going through that hearing test, it does kind of lean towards trying to stay neutral. Now, I don't mean neutral as in flat, but it's definitely not as elevated in the low end, and it's not as elevated when it comes to the treble, so it's not like overly bright or overly boomy. Once I went through my hearing test, it definitely became bass heavy, and it really became bright, and in my opinion, it really did fit the way that I like to listen to music. And so, like I said earlier, that dual chamber design also means that with the soundstage and the sound imaging, you really do feel like you are in a very open environment, and being able to tell where sounds are coming from, this pair has absolutely no issues with. So really breaking it down into different categories, if you're somebody that listens to pop and hip hop, this pair easily gets a 9. It's just dynamic and fun to listen to. Kind of the same thing with rock. I did find If it's something pretty chaotic, it can kind of muddy up the mids slightly. So I would give it an 8 in this category. And if you're listening to easy listening, where you're not normally, looking for that really deep bass or that deep punchy low end, I would give it an 8 here just because I feel like these still kind of specialize in bass. And then when it comes to media for movies and videos and gaming, because it has that LHDC playback, and it's using Bluetooth 5.3. This is easily a 9. This is one of the best pairs that I've used for different types of media. And my overall rating, this one was very easy and probably the closest that I've come to giving a 10 since starting this rating system. But I'm going to give these a 9 just because with rock, again, I did notice on some faster tracks, it would start to get a little bit cluttered right there in the mids on certain tracks. So it's really close to perfect. If you're looking at AirPod Pros, or if you're looking at the Sony, or you're looking at the Bose, and you just want something that's slightly different, this is a pair that I highly recommend, and it comes in cheaper than all of those. They definitely knocked it out of the park with this pair, and I'm very impressed that it seems as though that they listen to consumers, that they listen to reviewers, and whenever a company is going to do that, I'm all for it, and I'm looking forward to whatever they release next. But guys, that's my video on the Nothing Ear 2s. Thank you so much for checking out this video. Thank you so much for checking out all the other videos. And as always, make sure to stay tuned for more.